Hi, it's Kat of Sweet Cat Magic. I've recently posted two videos that described incidences where either my intuition or my guides or something guided me to two situations. I've also had experience with not wanting to be involved, and somehow the universe still decides that they want me involved. And this is a incident that happened several years ago, many years ago, probably 15 years ago. That's when I had my paralegal business, and I was doing legal research and legal paperwork for members of the public. And I had gotten a telephone call from a man who was calling on behalf of a prisoner who was in Halawa prison. That's on Oahu. That's one of our main prisons. And he was in prison for 12 years and wanted to have some legal research done on his behalf, and that they would pay me. Well, my first response was, I don't work with prisoners. And so I thanked him very much and just said, no, I didn't do legal research for prisoners. And at the time, I don't even know why I just said that. I just thought, I don't want to get involved in the whole prison. Usually, I had a judgment that said, if they're usually in prison, there's usually a reason why, you know. And I was not going to put myself out there helping a guilty person. You know, that was my, sad to say, judgment. But so after that, I had gone to the store and I'd bought several New Age magazines and that so that I could have some reading material. And I sat down with a cup of tea to read some of the articles in the magazines that I got. And I didn't know what was in the magazines because I just would buy whatever was on the shelf at the time. And so I open up the magazine just at random, just open it up to start to look at what's in it, to go to the table of contents. And the article that I open it up to it talks about prisoners. It's not about punishment. It should be about rehabilitation. So I thought, gee, that's odd. And here, just a couple hours ago, I turned down working with a prisoner, but I don't want to work with prisoners, so I'm not doing it. So then I got a phone call and I had to go answer the phone or something. And I came back and I picked up the magazine again. And I just opened it up again. And it was a continuation of the article. And it talked about how people just judge prisoners automatically and never give them a second chance. And I thought, okay, that's a little too much. I don't want to work with prisoners, okay? That's just a little too much twice in a row that I pick up this article and it's all about my judgment. It's all about not wanting to, have rehabilitation and not punishment. Okay, so anyway, I just said, I don't want to work with prisoners. So then I had something else that happened that I was disturbed. So I came back to this magazine. Now I'm very, very cautious of this magazine because I feel like, okay, you've got something to tell me, and if I open it the third time and it has anything to do with prisoners, then yes, I'll check into that. So I kind of gingerly went over and looked at the magazine, and I just kind of like flipped it open, just to see where it would fall. And it fell on the other page of where the prisoner is talking about prisoners. And so I said, okay, I got it. 3 times, I got it. I'll go down to the courthouse, I'll look at his file, I'll read about it, and then I'll make a decision then. Will that satisfy? And so then once I said that, I thought, okay, now I'm going to open this magazine. And I opened it, and it opened up to every other article. I mean, I could not find anything on the prisoner until I went to the table of contents, looked up the story, and then. So I knew that I was guided to really work with this, or to check into this prisoner. So the following day, I went down to the courthouse, and I got his file. And I was reading his file, and I just was amazed because I could see so easily how unfairly he had been treated, and how he had just got lost in the system, and how he had an appeal up to the Supreme Court of Hawaii, and it had sat there for a couple of years. And then when they finally made a decision, it came down on the other side. The state appealed, and it went up to that, and it was on incompetent counsel. The counsel didn't even bother to go check out his alibi. He had been at a store at a time. He had registered. The counsel didn't even do that, and I could read the transcript and know that he was totally set up. So from that, I went and and called back the person and says, yes, I am willing to work with him. And they were more than willing to pay me. But once I saw what had happened, I just said, this one comes from the heart. And so I had met Donald, that was his name, on the phone many times. We became a 2-year time of working together, of getting this situation. We had to do a writ of habeas corpus and go into federal court and show them that what had happened in Hawaii. And the federal court had said, if you don't decide on the case on this in 30 days, then the federal court will intervene. So it was quite serious. Anyway, long story short, 2 years of the most interesting time of my life, one of the most interesting time. He would call me every Wednesday night, and we would have I was his phone call. I was his wife at the time. Later divorced him. She was pregnant with one child when he was arrested and imprisoned, and they had a 2-year-old. And so after 12 years, she eventually divorced him, and the boys were being raised by his mother and father in Pennsylvania. So after 2 years of fighting it and getting it all straightened out, he finally was released from prison. And it was an honor to go to Halawa prison, and I had brought a lei for him. And when I put the lei on him, we just embraced. It was like finally freedom. He was a very young man. He was in his 30s, and he looked like Michael J. Fox. And so my husband, my kids, we'd all attend his hearings, and we would always speak on his behalf because I had spent the 2 years just really getting to know him, and he was very much into meditation and martial arts in the way that's the way he preserved himself in prison. He just made himself so flexible, and they couldn't touch him, so that he had the reputation of don't mess with Donald because he'll just embarrass you. So it was a fantastic experience. I did lose one friend who thought I shouldn't be involved with a prisoner, and she said that he was going to, this Sigourney Weaver movie came out or something where she had this relationship with this prisoner, and she somehow thought that that's what I had too. So she was very nervous about that, and I said I am going to still work with him, and if we can't be friends because of that, then that's your choice. But I want to tell you about one. I took him to the different stores the day that he was getting ready to fly back to Pennsylvania. He wanted to have a haircut, and he wanted to get some new clothes and stuff. So I took him to our biggest shopping mall, Ala Moana Shopping Center. And because he had this lei around his neck, people would just say, oh, special occasion, happy birthday? And he would just respond with, no, I just got out of prison after 14 years. And it was amazing, the reaction of the people, because there was no hint of judgment. There was no hint of, my gosh, what were you in prison for 14 years for? There was just this, congratulations, and then they would hug him too, because he had such an aura about him of relief and calmness and peace and no bitterness. It wasn't like, and I've been wrongfully accused of being in prison for 14 years, nothing like that. There was just this peace about him and joy, and it just was contagious to anybody that he encountered. And so I go back to that time where I said, I don't want to work with prisoners, and I don't want to do this, and how the universe just sent a sweet, clear message to me that it wasn't about punishment, it's about rehabilitation, it's all this, so that my mind could be changed, and I could have one of the sweetest experiences of my life. So if the universe comes knocking, I say 3 times. You got to answer.